Jai Gurudev, how can Uzbek education and literature be enhanced using spiritual practices? Uzbek, Jai Gurudev, influenced by Persian and Turkic traditions, offers linguistic complexity and beauty. Sudarshan Kriya improves clarity of mind for grammar and vocabulary retention. Sehat Samadhi meditation aligns heart and intellect, which helps grasp metaphorical and symbolic literature. Shakti Kriya builds stamina and immersive academic effort. Uzbek heritage shares moral tales and spiritual values, while Agnikaram and Gayatri Japa purify consciousness and refine articulation. Sandhya Vandanam aligns the day's flow with the cosmic intelligence. Through Upanayanam and Trikal Sandhya, learning Uzbek becomes a sacred commitment to preserving truth and timeless values. Mongolian, how can the richness of Mongolian language and culture be supported spiritually? Mongolian is a language of epic chants and deep philosophical expression. Sudarshan Kriya stabilizes the nervous system, making it easier to absorb historical and spiritual themes, while Sehat Samadhi meditation expands inner silence needed to appreciate Mongolian Buddhism infused literature. Padma Sadhana keeps learners balanced and creative. Mongolian culture values sacred recitation. Gayatri Japa and Agni Karyam prepare the subtle body to receive and transmit ancient wisdom. Sandhya Vandanam aligns time and intention. Upanayanam introduces learners to sacred discipline, making the study of Mongolian a divine act of preservation and reverence. Georgian, how can the ancient Georgian literature and language learning be enhanced? Georgian script and literature are unique and ancient. Sudarshan Kriya enhances patience and calm, essential for mastering its complex alphabet and pronunciation. Sehat Samadhi meditation and Padma Sadhana help cultivate subtle sensitivity for spiritual and poetic expression. In Georgian, these practices bring joy and depth to literary exploration. Georgia's monastic traditions echo Vedic ideals. Gayatri Japa supports sacred vocal discipline, while Agni Karyam and Sadhana awaken clarity and commitment. Upanayanam makes education sacred. Through Sandhya Vandanam, learners align their efforts with divine rhythms, sustaining Georgian culture with reverence and refined awareness. Armenian, how can Armenian scriptural richness and linguistic heritage be imparted? Armenian is historically tied to sacred texts and resilience. Sudarshan Kriya removes mental strain and restores emotional balance, allowing deeper absorption of its rich scriptural and historical narratives. Sehat Samadhi meditation enables introspection and spiritual resonance, helping learners engage with Armenian philosophy and prose authentically. Armenian script like Devanagari carries spiritual power. Gayatri Japa purifies speech and awakens higher intellect, while Agni Karam connects study with divine fire. Through Upanayanam and Sandhya Vandanam, Armenian learners walk the path of tapasya, seeing language as a living prayer and their learning as a sacred seva. How can Hebrews' sacred roots and modern revival be supported by these tools? Hebrew is both ancient and reborn. Sudarshan Kriya helps balance its dual identity, supporting emotional release and cognitive clarity. Sehet Samadhi meditation allows a deep connection to biblical texts and Kabbalistic ideas, while Padma Sadhana improves internal calmness, vital for navigating Hebrew's depth and precision. Hebrew shares a Vedic reverence for sacred sound, and Gayatri Japa tunes the consciousness to receive divine revelation. Agni Karam and Upanayanam establish a spiritual container for learning. Trikal and their alliance learners with time and soul. These tools preserve Hebrew's holiness while energizing its living evolution. How can spiritual techniques help in preserving and enlivening Yiddish literature? Yiddish captures centuries of Jewish heart, humor, and sorrow. Sudarshan Kriya helps process collective memory and pain while opening space for joyful learning. Sahat Samadhi meditation deepens understanding of nuance and humor embedded in Yiddish plays and poetry. Padma Sadhana and Shakti Kriya build stamina for storytelling. Yiddish carries soul and satire like Vedic mantras. It vibrates with the intention. Agni Karam sanctifies a space of learning, while Gayatri Japa enhances memory and expression. Upanayanam honors knowledge as sacred through these tools. Yiddish becomes not only a language of survival, but of spiritual revival and cultural light. Jayodev, yes, how can Bosnian language learning be spiritually enriched? Bosnian carries the deep scars and poetic strength of a resilient people. Sudarshan Kriya heals emotional trauma, making space for peaceful learning. Sahat Samadhi meditation allows students and educators to immerse in its poetic cadence and spiritual essence. Shakti Kriya brings enthusiasm to language revitalization efforts. Bosnian literature speaks of survival and sacredness, while Gayatri Japa restores reverence to speech. Agnikaram sanctifies a space of learning, while Sandhya Vandanam aligns learners to divine rhythms to Upanayana and Sadhana. Bosnian education becomes an act of spiritual resilience, inviting peace, clarity, and dignity to the soul. How can Serbian language and literature be aligned with the ancient Vedic practices? Zagordevia Serbian, with its Cyrillic script and rich epic tradition, benefits from inner silence. Sudarshan Kriya clears emotional restlessness. Sahat Samadhi meditation aids in tapping into the stillness required to connect with the deeper historical and philosophical writings. Padma Sadhana supports bodily stillness for long term literary immersion. Serbian orthodoxy resonates with the Vedic ritual purity. Upanayanam prepares the mind to receive knowledge as divine, while Gayatri Japa sharpens pronunciation and memory. Agnikaram reinforces reverence for knowledge. When learners engage in Sandhya Vandanam and Trikal Sandhya, they align with cosmic cycles, elevating Serbian education to a sacred dimension. How can spiritual tools support a Croatian language and its poetic expression? Croatian is a language of love, beauty, and resilience. So, Darshan Kriya restores calm needed for poetic expression. Sahat Samadhi meditation sharpens the inner ear to hear subtle linguistic rhythms, while Shakti Kriya energizes learners. These tools bring joy to Croatian literature and expand its cultural beauty. Croatian epics echo themes of Dharma, while Upanenam initiates learners into sacred intention. Gayatri Japa refines pronunciation, while Agnikaram purifies the atmosphere for learning. Sayam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2 fosters inner restraint and focus. In this framework, learning Croatian becomes a soulful offering that strengthens culture, heritage, and inner self. How can Slovak learning and expression be enhanced through spiritual discipline? Slovak's melodic structure is perfect for emotional and artistic expression. Sudarshan Kriya brings balance to the emotions, enhancing language retention, while Sahat Samadhi meditation opens doors to understanding poetry and prose with subtlety. Shakti Kriya gives energy to learners. The result is both academic excellence and inner joy. Slovak's lyrical nature benefits from sacred practices. Gayatri Japa aligns speech and breath, while Agni Karyam and Sadhana instill discipline and devotion. Sandhya Vandanam connects learning with natural cycles, while Upanenam invites a lifelong commitment to wisdom. Slovak becomes not just as a language but a medium for sacred expression. Jai Gurudev, yes, how can spiritual wisdom enhance Slovenian culture and language education? Jai Gurudev, yes, Slovenian, with its charming complexity, benefits from the clarity brought by Sudarshan Kriya. This breathwork clears the mind and prepares it for linguistic nuance. Sahat Samadhi meditation connects learners to the soul of Slovenian storytelling. Padma Sadhana and Shakti Kriya bring joy and vitality into the classroom, while Slovenian traditions echo ancient wisdom. Gayatri Japa improves articulation and memory. Agni Karyam adds sanctity to language environments, while Upanenam introduces sacred study culture. Sandhya Vandanam attunes students to divine rhythm. These tools make Slovenian language learning a gateway to higher consciousness and creativity. How can Macedonians' historical richness be sustained through spiritual tools? Macedonians' roots reach into ancient philosophical traditions. Sudarshan Kriya helps the nervous system settle, enabling deeper focus on history and philosophy, while Sahat Samadhi meditation strengthens intuitive understanding. Shakti Kriya builds endurance and creativity, essential for those preserving Macedonians' cultural depth. Macedonian literature values oral transmission, just like the Vedas. Gayatri Japa enlivens the power of spoken word, while Agnikaram and Upanayam re-establish sanctity in education. Sanyam Sadhana of level 1 and level 2 and Sandhya Vandanam align language learning with the higher truths. Through these practices, Macedonian becomes a path to inner realization. How can Albanians' cultural and educational revival be supported spiritually? Albanian, a unique linguistic bridge, offers a powerful narrative legacy. Sudarshan Kriya helps heal historical trauma and improve concentration, while Sahat Samadhi meditation sharpens inner listening, essential for grasping poetic subtleties. Shakti Kriya rejuvenates tired learners, while Padma Sadhana prepares the mind body system for literary appreciation. This Albanian heritage, like Vedic tradition, thrives on integrity and discipline. Gayatri Japa clears vocal channels, while Agni Karam re-sanctifies the space of learning. Sandhya Vandanam connects daily learning to nature's intelligence, while Upanam invokes sacred commitment. Together, these uplift Albanian as a spiritual and cultural heritage to be cherished. Jagdev. Jagadev, how can Malay language education thrive with Vedic and art weaving practices? Malay is melodic and rich with the storytelling. Sudarshan Kriya refreshes the mind, allowing better retention of vocabulary and structure. Sahat Samadhi meditation supports spiritual resonance with the wisdom hidden in folk tales. Padma Sadhana and Shakti Kriya increase the mental stamina and creativity in expression. Malay culture values storytelling as a sacred. Gayatri Japa enhances clarity and tone, while Sandhya Vandanam and Trikal Sandhya connect learners to divine time. Agni Karam brings reverence into learning, while Upanayana instills discipline and sacred focus. These tools transform Malay learning into a nourishing spiritual and educational experience. How can Javanese heritage be revitalized through spiritual practices? Jai Gurudev, yes, Javanese carries elegance and mysticism. Sudarshan Kriya removes layers of mental fatigue and awakens spiritual awareness. Sahat Samadhi meditation allows learners to tune into the symbolic power of Javanese literature. Shakti Kriya provides the energy to preserve and promote the depth of its language. In this language, Javanese philosophy and rituals mirror Vedic Dharma. Gayatri Japa activates subtle energy in speech, while Agni Karyam honors sacred space and intentions. Sandhya Vandanam aligns learning to divine rhythms, while Upanayana prepares students for a life of disciplined learning. These tools nourish Javanese wisdom for generations to come. Jagadev, how can Khmer's cultural treasures be preserved through Vedic tools? Khmer script is an ancient artistic marvel. Sudarshan Kriya revitalizes the body and mind, essential for the detailed memorization needed in Khmer study, while Sehat Samadhi meditation enhances receptivity to spiritual and cultural symbolism. Padma Sadhana and Shakti Kriya make learning joyful, present, and vibrant. Khmer temples reflect Vedic architecture and spirit, while Gayatri Japa connects learners to the vibrational core of sacred language. Agni Karyam and Trikal Sandhya and Upanayanam provide a sacred foundation for education. With these tools, Khmer becomes not just a script or speech, but a pathway to cultural rebirth and divine insight. Jai Gurudev, yes, how can spiritual practices enhance education in the Lao language? Lao, with its gentle tones and cultural grace, flourishes in silence and stillness. Sudarshan Kriya helps students enter a peaceful, balanced state, aiding in language learning. Sahat Samadhi meditation aligns the mind to the poetic structure of Lao storytelling. Padma Sadhana prepares learners physically and mentally for study. Lao Buddhist traditions parallel Vedic wisdom, while Sandhya Vandanam anchors students to natural cycles of learning. Gayatri Japa harmonizes speech with breath, while Agni Karam invokes sacredness in academic spaces. Upanayana introduces sacred intent to study. These practices together uplift, allow education to a path of inner purity and outer expression. Jagadev, how can Burmese language and culture benefit from artifacting in Vedic practices? Jagadev, yes, Burmese is deeply spiritual and influenced by monastic culture, resonates well with Sahat Samadhi meditation and Sudarshan Kriya. These bring clarity and intuition into learning, while Shakti Kriya boosts confidence and creativity among youth. Through these tools, the Burmese script with its curves and cadence becomes a channel for joy and grace. Burmese devotion and ritualism find resonance with the Vedic practices. Gayatri Japa supports refined pronunciation, and Agni Karyam and Sandhya Vandanam foster a sacred atmosphere in schools. Upanayana instills discipline and sacred responsibility. As these are integrated, Burmese language education becomes not only intellectually rich but also spiritually elevating. How can Tibetan language preservation be supported through Vedic and art tools? Jagodevia's Tibetan language carries centuries of spiritual knowledge. Sudarshan Kriya clears emotional layers, enabling students to access Tibetan teachings with a greater calm and clarity. Sehat Samadhi meditation opens intuitive channels, while Padma Sadhana strengthens the body for long hours of scriptural study, enhancing both stamina and receptivity. Tibetan traditions like the Vedic or mantra based Gayatri Japa awakens the sacred voice. Trikal Sandhya and Upanyanam integrate divine rhythms into learning. Agnikaram reconnects youth with sacred ritual. Tibetan becomes more than preservation, it becomes activation of divine heritage through inner silence and outer action. Jai Gurudev.